All right, guys, it's time to move on. We took 5 to 10-minute break here, so we're ready to move on to our second objective. Our second objective was to talk about the SAMR method, or the SAMR method for technology integration. When you're not using tech, it's kind of like this individual who's right over here. And what's he doing? He's just hanging out here. Well, I wonder what's in the ocean. He has no sense of what's going on out there because he's not really working with the technology at all. The first level of technology integration into your classroom is going to be substitution. This is where the tech acts as a direct tool, a substitute with no real functional change. After that comes augmentation. After that comes modification. And then finally, the last stage is redefinition. Well, let's take a look at each one of these. Substitution. Same function, new tech. Example. I used to have students write essays using Microsoft Word. Well, now we use Google Docs. Substitute. Used to use Microsoft Word and that word processing software. Now you use Google Docs. You substituted one thing for the other thing. Same function, same assignment, same exact thing. You're just using new tech. And for many beginners, and for those of you who are just getting used to these programs, and those who don't usually use computers that much, this is likely the level of technology integration that's going to work for you. If your class doesn't use tech all the time, if you need to be a bit more hands-on, if you need to use additional softwares that are not included in the Google Suite, such as if you are in the STEM programs and you are having to use CAD, or if you are having to use the Adobe Suite or things of that nature, then yes, when we talk about Google Classroom and things of that nature, there's going to be a lot of substitution for you. There is nothing wrong with substitution. Please don't think that if we look back at this image that I want everybody to be a submarine. I don't mind using canoes and kayaks, okay? Using canoes are great, okay? It's really, I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. When we have those tools available, we should use them, and we need to use the tools that are best utilized within the workplace and within post-secondary options, okay? However, Google Suite does allow us to jump to augmentation rather easily, okay, for most of our classrooms. And let's talk about how that'll work. Well, what is augmentation? Augmentation is functional improvement using new tech. So you're going to get some new features that you didn't have before. Well, I used to have my students write papers with Word, but the automatic save feature on Google Docs makes life so much easier. Now my students don't lose their work. The Explorer feature using Google Docs lets my kids explore while they're in the same window, so they don't have to bounce back and forth between the web and what they're writing. The Share feature makes it much simpler for my students to utilize peer editing, whereas before it would be too hard to do peer editing. We would have to print off all of our papers, then give them to other students. They would then mark them up, and then we would have to go back and make all the corrections on a static Word document. Or if you had email, I had to email it to my friend. They had to make the changes, then they had to email it back to me. Well, now you can simultaneously work on it together, okay? The fact that you have unlimited cloud storage might make it more of a functional improvement. The fact that you can use voice typing, the fact that there's a built-in translation feature for our foreign language teachers, for Senora and for Frau. Google takes some of the hassle out of the projects, okay? Take some of the hassle out. You know, building that easy bibliography, using the citation feature to get citations and footnotes, formatting things easier, finding table of contents, etc. All of that is augmentation. The next idea is modification, and that's new tasks. So, same project. We're still writing a paper, but now we're doing things that we didn't do before because it was either too cumbersome, too time-consuming, the students weren't able to do it, the students didn't understand, we weren't able to work together, it wasn't fluid, it wasn't available to us with the software that we had. Okay, well, maybe this is the example that you had. I used to struggle with peer review because it was time intensive, resource intensive, and it lacked oversight. My students couldn't do it, and I couldn't be everywhere watching everybody grade each other's papers. Uh, with Google, students can share their work instantly. They can work outside of class time with limited resource waste. Okay, they're not printing off all of those sheets of paper. We're saving hundreds of sheets of paper with just one assignment. And I can view their progress easily and make my own suggestions when they share the document with me. The technology is going beyond a simple replacement. Okay, now it's not a substitution. Now it's not augmenting what we used to do before because it is giving us some things that make our life better. Now we can do things that were otherwise cumbersome using the previous systems. Okay, we can change the project. We can increase the student-driven learning potential of the assignment. Okay, so students can actively engage more with the curriculum. And finally, redefinition. When you get in the world of tech, this is kind of where you want to end up. This is where you are doing new tasks that were otherwise impossible before because you just didn't have the tech in order to do it. Listen to this person. I've redesigned my class. It's now project-based. Class time used to be dedicated to reading the textbook and completing worksheets. Now we use the internet to delve deeper into issues that students find interesting. We create videos using our laptops to discuss those issues in new and exciting ways. Students drive instruction by selecting projects from pre-approved lists and using their time to invent and invest in building new research and technology skills that go beyond my class and into the real world. We share our projects easily with our own class website, and family and fellow students can view it. That is redefinition. Going from using a static textbook that is possibly 8 or 10 years out of date and completing worksheets where students gain knowledge but could demonstrate it in other capacities, to now these students are actively engaging by creating brand new projects they couldn't have done before because of our limited number of computers available to us, the limited amount of time that they had access to those computers, and the amount of time it took us as instructors outside of our class time in order to work with these kids and train them on these different seminars and these different products. Okay, now these students can easily be trained on these with an integration period at the beginning of your class, and now they have all of these tools at their disposal inside of their tool belt that they could use to better benefit themselves and increase the capacity for knowledge. Your turn. Pick a topic. Scribe the traditional method of instruction that you would have used, and then brainstorm ways that you could substitute new products that you've learned about through Google, augment it with some of the tools that they have to change the way that it would have worked, modify it, and even redefine how you would have taught that material or that subject topic with something that you could never have done before in your classroom because you didn't have the technology for it. It doesn't need to be limited to Google products. If you want to use a different type of presentation software, use a different type of presentation software. Okay, if you want to use a screencasting like I have been doing to make all of these videos, check out Loom, L-O-O-M, in your Chrome extensions. And you can see how you could screencast or Chromecast. Okay, if you want to look at different types of softwares that were not available because you weren't able to get computer lab time, now you have access to them. How do you want to make it work for you? Okay, those are just some suggestions that we have and that we covered in our time inside of our development meeting. I hope that you find this helpful, and I hope that you use this as a guide to see yourself moving up the chain of technological integration. Take care. Have a good one.